I'm Lindsay Kozakowski. I serve as our social media manager and handle a lot of behind the scenes things leading up to Big Buck Night, and I'm part of the registration team.
Awesome. And you?
My name is Dan. My wife Pam and sister-in-law Peggy own and operate Belgiumtown here, and this is where the event took off. So kind of one of the main organizers here. And
first off, I have never been here. This place is super cool. Tell me about this building.
So Belgiumtown has been a bar, restaurant, banquet hall for decades here. The hall we're in here is basically a 100-year-old building. It was an old dance hall from back in the era of the big bands, and I believe originated as an open-air stage, if you will, and then was built into a hall, bar and restaurant added on later, and yeah, a lot of history behind this place here, so it's kind of cool.
Where do all the malls come from?
A few personal family things we started with, and then just kind of started collecting a little bit, if you will. Auctions, sales, a lot of donations now. We get a lot of patrons bring things up here for us to display and that sort of thing. So
It's cool. It's cool in the fall. It brings such a great ambiance when you come to enjoy the camp time of year and come have dinner out here.
Honestly, I pulled up and I did not expect this inside.
It's a unique thing, that's for sure. It's a perfect setting for our event.
yes.
How did the Belgiumtown Big Buck Night ever start up?
Well, several years ago, probably 15 years ago or so, I tried to have a little filler event on a kind of a dead weeknight for deer season, just something to bring a few people in, and mounted a little buck pole off the back of the building here, and advertised it in-house. I think we had a few prizes, and we had maybe 5 to 10 people show up with deer, and it was kind of a one-man show. So it went okay. It was kind of a fun thing, but it never amounted to much. And you know, we had the Big Buck Night was going then up at the Chip-In Casino, and kind of a big deal around here. You know, a lot of people would go up to it, and a few friends had kind of said, well, why don't you guys do your own little thing here? Well, then the casino, in talking to one of their employees that was a friend of mine, she said it was a feel-good event, but not a real money maker for them, you know, so they abandoned it. The event moved up there further north away from us a couple times to a few different venues. So that was kind of the spot where we said, you know, let's try and get something going down here for the folks in the mid-county. So a good friend of mine and one of our primary organizers, Scott Toney, and I, you know, he just kind of brought it up one day out here in the parking lot. He said, what do you think we could do here? Could we get something going? And it was like this time of year already, and we had nothing organized. So it's like September, and I'm like, you know, things like this always take quite a bit of work, you know, and we had no framework at all, and we thought about it for like a week, and I'm like, heck with it, let's try and give it a shot. So we talked to a good friend of ours, Jesse Betters, who's the chairman at the Stevenson Marketing Co-op. He offered some prizes, B&J Taxidermy, Jim Kunze, my cousin, he offered a deer mount as a prize. So we had like 2 or 3 things. Jason Toon down at DLT Trading, he donated a knife. So we had like 3 kind of nice prizes, you know, so that kind of set our framework for our prizes. The girls at Belgiumtown here, of course, put together a few prize packages. And so we had like 5-10 things and a little bit of a format in mind that we were going to use. And we used to have the annual Hunter's Ball event that was here. So we set it for like that Saturday night of the Hunter's Ball, and kind of used that event as a springboard. And I think we had 20 deer, 15 to 20 deer brought up that night, and it just kind of went from there. So gradually grew. You know, I think the numbers grew by 5 to 10 deer, and spectators, that number grew greatly, and it's just kind of gone from there. So.
Compare the first year to the last year.
Well, like I say, the first year was probably, I think we had 20 deer tops, and we had a lot of people here just because it was a weekend event night here. So, you know, we had a bar and hall pretty full of people, and so it went well, but nobody really knew where it was going to lead to, or what was going to happen. So here we're leading up to year 8. Last year, we estimate we had probably 1,000 people, spectators and registrants, and we had like 75 deer, was it,
I think it's
Lynn?
about 75, yeah.
Yeah, so it was
Yep.
just a real massive crowd and a great night. Perfect weather last year too, so that weather does affect how things are going to be, you know. But, yeah.
And how about like prizes and stuff you give away? How's that grown?
A lot.
Take the lead on that, Linz?
So many different community businesses, organizations, just people that have literally walked up as we're giving prizes out and said, here's $150, just give it out to somebody. We're like, oh, okay. The generosity of our community is amazing. I mean, different companies and people, and some of the volunteer organizers too come together and do a youth prize, a women's prize, just to get them involved, because that's the generation, or the youth is the next generation, and more women are getting into the sport of hunting. So it makes a big difference when those prizes are given out. It gives people the opportunity to come back next year because they know what they're going to get. So it's grown a lot.
Yeah, I'd expound on what Lindsay said there. The community is just so generous. We, you know, with the exception, of a couple people, all of our prizes have been unsolicited. So it's like basically local organizations, business owners, what have you, basically reaching out to us, asking how they can be involved and stuff. So feels really good. It's a lot of fun.
How did you get it from 100 or a couple hundred to 1,000 people? Is it word of mouth? Do you advertise?
So when I came on board in 2021, I kind of saw that there was an opportunity to bring social media to the event. So many different events in the area throughout the UP have Facebook pages and different things. So I said, well, why don't we try doing that? And I posted it, or established the page in July, and by October we were already at like 250 people liking it. And I don't know what we're currently at. I know it's, I think, into 1,000.
Yeah, I'm not
or
sure.
close to it, somewhere in there. And that took off like wildfire. And it just led one thing after another, and it just kept growing. And it's kind of the positives of social media, where it does help by word of mouth, because then the next person that shares it sees it and shares it with somebody else. Yeah, it took off because of that. I mean, it reached all the way to Negaunee, and I think the coolest part was when somebody had called from TV6. They had called me one day, and they're like, hey, we saw your Facebook page. We're going to send a reporter. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And like, that was probably that was a big day. I remember I was shaking when they called, and I'm like, whoa, that was amazing. So it kind of just took off.
Today's Discover the UP podcast is brought to you by Hardcore Outfitters of Iron Mountain. Hardcore Outfitters strives to promote and instill an enjoyment of the outdoors for all ages and individuals. Whether you're already an avid outdoors person who enjoys the thrill of the hunt, or newly learning the art of archery, sharpen your skills at their indoor archery range and check out their line of products from Matthews, Hoyt, Bear, Raven, Centerpoint, 10-Point, and Wicked Ridge. If being on the water drives your passion and has you hooked, they have an impressive selection of year-round fishing gear, plus a full-service bait shop and the largest selection for fly fishing the UP. Go to Hardcore Outfitters in Iron Mountain, tell them I sent you, and discover what outdoor hobby or adventure awaits you.
Where are people coming from when they're coming? I mean, this Where I live, it also looks like a very rural area too. I don't know what the population is around here, but.
I think it's a combination, you know, it's a lot of locals. I mean, it's become, I think, kind of a well-known local event, but of course we have a lot of seasonal camp owners, visiting hunters and stuff that that I've kind of gotten to know over the years that reach out to me from wherever they might hail from, and hey, are you guys still running the event? You know, as far as the registrants, we reach probably about up into, I would say, the Wilson area, you know, and then with the time change up there, and now the other organizations running similar events, the hunter registrants tend to, from that area, I would say, tend to go north, and then we reach as far south as Menominee, and I think spectator-wise, we get some Wisconsin residents and stuff like that too, that are just out for a fun event and stuff like that.
Yep. There's been a few outliers from, you know, I'd say central UP that have come down.
Yeah.
You know, looking at it on a map-wise. But like you say, local, which is nice. It's nice to see all the local hunters get together. The camaraderie of it all.
I think the biggest change, if I could just add here, you know, when we started this, as I said before, we used our annual Hunters Ball as kind of the springboard for the event, and that was basically like an adult night, you know, camp goers, locals, whatever, out for some beers, and we'd have music, and it was an adult night for sure. And after that first couple years, we really targeted making this into a family type event, which I think we've been pretty successful at, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Lance?
absolutely.
You know, I mean, there's still guys out there having a few cold ones and stuff like that, but it's very family friendly. Kids all over. It's really exciting actually seeing them. They get fired up about it. So
I love hearing the kids' stories.
Yeah.
As they're like bringing their deer and they're like, I shot this tonight. I'm like, that's amazing. And they have this like whole big story, and it kind of gives you the reward at the end of the night when everything is really stressful, that you're doing it for the right reason. You're getting that next generation in hunting.
Yep. And I think our sponsors have showed that too with donations and that, and they've kind of seen that, and yeah, just something kind of
It's cool.
move on to the next generation, like Lynn said, and it's been fun. Been a lot of fun.
So you get a lot of kids registering deer then?
Yeah, surprisingly. I mean, and there's a lot of kids who want to help. A lot of kids who want to help at the weigh-in, and we take some of the older kids that we've all taken under our wing and let them watch or find some little job for them to do, because it makes them feel important. Makes them feel like they're a part of it. And what better way to get them involved than to giving them a small job?
Yeah, I think as far as registrants, you know, we're still trying to target that group perpetually. You know, I would say the number is somewhere in the 10 to 20% range. Maybe 20 would probably be high as far as the registrants go. We always hope for more, and although it's a contest a little bit, if you will, you know, we reward all the kids that bring deer and stuff like that, and also try to you know, purvey that it's not just about shooting a big buck, but you know, we try to you know, stress you know, doe harvest, good stewardship of the herd, and then too, like you know, just people being happy that they harvested a deer, you know, not the, yeah, I've got to shoot that 10-pointer or whatever, you know, but to be proud of any deer they harvest. And you know, through prizes we try to donate prizes that would key on like hunter safety, marksmanship, those sort of qualities that are really important, you know, we feel. So
Yeah, it's the value of hunting too, that families are instilling in young kids. Like you say, the hunter safety, that's a big part of it. It's something that's important and should be learned at a young age. So we definitely try to work on that.
How do you do that then? How do you?
You know, like he says, with the prizes, just trying to we have the Mid-County Sportsmen's Club in town here in Stevenson. They do a great job with the hunter safety course and organizing that for the kids. So they have a table out here every year and get to talk to parents and kids, and gives them an opportunity to sign up for that organization, and then gets kids excited for the springtime when they do host their class, or I think it's summer now, but gets them an opportunity to, hey, this is out there and this is what you need to be able to go hunting. So kind of gives everybody a little bit of chance to advertise what they want.
Now, is this something you gotta like register for in advance, or you just show up the day of?
No, you show up the day of.
Yep, and that's kind of been one of the hallmarks too, is when we advertise is no pre-registration, no cost is the big one. We don't ask anybody to tie any money into it. All the sponsors that have come on board, you know, it's basically just bring your deer out, you know, bring a few companions, and just come on out for a good time. And it's been good. You know, I think people like, I don't say free stuff, if you will, but it's you know, hasn't never really been targeted as a money maker, but more of a fun community event. And we're kind of prideful of that too, you know.
Today's Discover the UP podcast is brought to you by Big Valley Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep in Ewan, Michigan. When I'm traveling around the UP, I'm surprised and not surprised by how often the vehicle in front of me has a Big Valley sticker on it. Big Valley Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep Ram is located in the tiny town of Ewan on the west end of the Upper Peninsula. People from across the region buy their new and used cars and trucks from Big Valley, and they drive all the way back to Ewan to get them serviced. Which reminds me, I'm probably due for an oil change myself. I'm on my 4th new Ford vehicle with over 500,000 miles under their tires, so I'm probably due for a tire rotation too. Big Valley is a one-stop shop for all your vehicle needs with a full service department, parts department, and body shop. I got caught in a hailstorm once with my last truck, and they made it look just like new. If you're looking for a new or used vehicle, go see them in Ewan or check out their inventory online at bigvalley.biz.
You know, one of the slogans of our event, if you will, is successful sportsmen sharing stories. And it's just getting people together. It's a lot of fun. Just everybody standing around out there shooting the bull, looking the deer over, you know, the kids, as we said before, running around, you know, and, you know, we line the deer all up out there, and you can just basically walk around and look at all the deer, and it gets the stories going, you know, and that's the big thing, is the camaraderie and the, you know, try to promote the sportsmanship of the event and stuff too. And I mean, the big bucks are, without a doubt, you know, they steal the show, but it's, you know, we like to think it's more than that.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things too is when I'm at the registration booth, I can turn around and see the spectators and the deer getting weighed. And I always love when I turn around, and we're probably about an hour into the event, and there's just a crowd of people lined along the fence system that we have, just watching all these deer come in. And it's like, whoa, that's a really cool feeling to know it was successful, that so many people are coming to watch and support other hunters. I think it's just a really neat thing. It's kind of neat with all the lights, and it's wintertime, so it's got that cool, crisp feeling, and you feel like fall's in the air. Yeah. It's fun.
Awesome. So what is the date this year and the times and all that info?
Yeah, so November 18th, we always do the 4th day of season, so November 18th is kind of our date every year. This year we are going to start a little earlier with registering deer. We're going to start at 4:30, I think is the kind of tentative plans. Yeah. Typically starts at 5. Everybody starts lining up way earlier than that. It's actually kind of crazy how early people come. Once we open the gates, we'll get our computer system up and running to get all the deer registered, and then award ceremony is typically about 8:30. So, yeah.
I think after
Prizes.
last year's event, we, as we began registration, we looked down the road here, and we had a line of about probably close to a quarter-mile long of vehicles ready to register deer, and so it adds a lot of pressure, you know, get deer registered, trying to get them scored, that sort of thing. So so we may modify that this year and spread it out. The only thing we ask is that anybody registering deer stay till the end of the event. So the deer, the highlight is kind of the deer lined up out there. People can walk around. So we ask that people don't come and register and take off, kind of hit and run, so to speak. So so with the expanded registration, we'll see how that might work. But we think it'll help out.
Yeah, how do you score and how do you do the contest and prizes?
Yeah.
So the scoring is pretty simple. We do the typical points plus spread plus the length of the 2 longest tines in inches, and we add that number together. And then we have a weigh station also, so we weigh any bucks that are not scun out or processed. Wherever you can register. Just bring your rack, your tag rack or whatever, and we do ask that it has a valid Michigan tag on it. Trying to keep everything above board here, of course. And if the deer is still in the round, we've got a weigh station. So Lynn's typically registers the deer. We measure them up, weigh them up. If you have a doe, we do the does by weight, and then we just line them up and park them out here in the yard, and for the viewing after that. And what else could we add?
So one of the cool things we do that's unique to our event that I can't speak for any of the other events. I haven't been to those, unfortunately, and want to get to them. But we have a really cool tech guy that has helped us out, who built a computer program for us. And so we are able to enter all the information into a database, and it's real-time scoring. So as the deer are coming in, I'm taking the hunter's information, so name, phone number, address, just so that we can have that for, demographics of where people are coming from, what their ages are. As one of our prizes is most senior hunter, most experienced hunter. So that's kind of cool. And then they go through the line, they get their picture taken, and then their picture is immediately put up onto our screen. We have a big screen in here. So as deer are coming in and getting registered, the spectators in here are watching the deer. So if it's cold, people are more than welcome to stay in here and enjoy that. They get weighed, and then like Dan said, they go out and get lined up. And then it makes the results are also posted in here. So it's kind of going through who is the current winner, which is really cool. And I don't know, I think it's a neat experience, something different.
Yeah, the program you guys implemented breaks it down for not only age, but so we can separate the kids into their own categories. So they're all getting prizes, but so we can kind of rank everybody as we go. And then we do have a couple of like Judge's Choice type awards, if you will, and we're kind of got that in the back of our mind the whole night, whether it's a really unique deer, a unique story, situation, whatever. And so we kind of ad-lib those a little bit, but everything else is kind of in this program that these guys have developed and been improving continuously here. We've hit some glitches over the last couple of years, right?
Sure. With anything with technology.
Wi-Fi issues, and
you get 1,000 people. It's the Wi-Fi goes real quick. It's
been interesting at times. So, we try and keep things moving, but we have hit some snags the last couple of years with the greater attendance, and we're trying to work on that and improve that situation.
There's always improvements being made. Some things we didn't think we'd ever have to do, like adding, stronger internet, more lighting. It was just kind of crazy, but we made it work.
The outside area is really expanded.
Big time.
So there's a day or two of work just in lighting, parking, fencing, stuff like that, which unfortunately cuts into our hunting time. That second, third, fourth day of deer season is unfortunately spent doing more prep work than it is woods time, but it's worth it. It's a lot of fun.
Big time.
We do, the restaurant here does provide for, beverages and a limited menu, but we've expanded on offering free food right outside.
We have complimentary hot dogs, brats, hot chocolate, coffee. We're going to probably expand a little bit more into that this year as well, but Just a lot of hunters want to come have dinner and walk around with some snacks and stuff, so we always want to make sure we have something like that. A lot of people gather under the tent that it's under too, just to visit, which is great. I think one of the new things we did last year too is when we were taking the pictures, everyone was saying, well, how can I get a copy of the pictures? So we looked at doing a printer. We just got a photo printer and some photo paper and started printing them and did like the sports picture frames, just the paper cardboard, I guess you want to call them, and put our sticker on them. And we're giving them out. And so many people are like, that's so cool. So it was kind of a little commemorative thing that they're going to have from year to year, and we're going to continue to do that this year as well. So yeah, 5x7 picture they went home with, and that's kind of a nice little memory for the kids and for the adults as well to put up in their camp or in their hunting blind. Neat little keepsake, so yeah.
Serves as a little reminder, I think, too.
Yeah.
For
Yep.
every year, the year coming up, next year coming
Yep.
up and stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know, I think that just makes our event unique, that it's something different. We try and come up with unique things and fundraisers. All the funds that we do raise from the donations and some of the different aspects of the event goes back into it. There's no profit, it's all volunteer. There's no really reward other than the end of the event where we've been successful. It's countless hours leading up to the event of working on things and organizing and getting things created and meetings. We have 3 to 4 meetings throughout the fall, just talking and how are we going to do things, what do we think hunters want, what do we think spectators want. And so at the end of the night when our parking staff comes up to us and said, well, you guys just parked 420 cars in 2 hours, that's your reward.
Yeah.
So it's definitely all volunteer, all hands on deck, all the time, the whole night. And it's cold. It's very cold.
We lucked into some really great weather last year. The year before that, 22, I guess it was.
Yeah.
Was very blustery, very cold, very miserable. And we had
Snow.
our local Lions Club has gotten on board. They run their annual gun raffle, I guess, if you will, is what they call it. But so they've done that for years in the area. Kind of tied it back to our event a couple of years ago, and so it's a big fundraiser for them. In exchange for that, we kind of prodded them into helping us with the event, and they pull a crew together and they park vehicles for us. We fill up a couple of cornfields here with cars and trucks, and it would be, without them, it would be total mayhem. So 2 years ago, this Lions Club crew was out there in that field in just this blustery, freezing cold, miserable night, and they were troopers. They really helped things out, and they couldn't really take refuge anywhere. So maybe we'll work on some warming shacks for them this year or something, just in case. And then again, now last year in 23 was basically like sweatshirt weather. It was, and I think that contributed to our great turnout last year, was that it was just the most perfect night. I think it was on a Saturday night, which didn't hurt any either, and just kind of perfect storm. It culminated in this massive crowd. Probably we estimated about 1,000 people, give or take, with the 400 and some vehicles, and then all the registered vehicles inside, which was probably another 40 to 50 vehicles with their deer and stuff too.
Today's Discover the UP podcast is brought to you by BAM Tools. My friend Andrew wants to help support this podcast, but didn't know how he should advertise his business, so here goes. BAM Tools is a small, family-owned and operated business out of Ewan, Michigan, but they cover the entire UP, delivering tools to all sorts of businesses. Inside the tool truck are hand tools, power tools, automotive shop supplies, and so much more. I should tell Andrew I need a new Grizzly cooler, preferably blue. BAM Tools is also a tech tire supplies distributor, and Travis is the guy behind the wheel of that truck. So if you see Andrew or Travis in a BAM Tools truck, tell them thanks for supporting this podcast.
The big bucks are the real showstoppers, and mid-Menominee County, with the rich agricultural heritage of the area, does provide for a lot of deer and a lot of nice bucks too, compared to maybe the outlying areas of the UP. So that helps a lot. We just get the sheer numbers of deer that maybe other areas just, the areas don't support that or whatever. You have the wolf factor too, which they're definitely present here in the mid-county. But, the milder weather down here helps the deer a lot. We had very little snow cover last year through the entire winter. Mild temperatures, we don't see a lot of that sub-zero temperatures that you might get up in the Superior Snow Belt or whatever, or, the heavy snow cover. So I think you get a lot of fawn recruitment. Over the deer overwinter really well and stuff like that. So the deer numbers are just fabulous down here. There may be pockets here and there where that might change, whether it's predator populations or whatever. But overall, I think that's a big help for our event is just the sheer numbers, and the popularity of the area here. I remember dating back into the 80s when our deer population was out of control here in the early to mid 80s, and the UP, Menominee County, I remember it was, there was an article in one of the major sports magazines, whether it was Field and Stream or, Sports Afield or one of them, and it had a map of the United States, and basically a pinpoint on that map, I believe, was the epicenter of was Menominee County for the most populous deer area in the country. It was pretty crazy that we, that was before there was all these publications and stuff. You had your 2 or 3 magazines that everybody picked up off the newsstand, but Menominee County was grossly overpopulated with deer at that time. And then we did have a couple harsh winters there, and I think it was 86, 87, 88, somewhere back in that time when I was just, I was still in grade school. And we had a vast winter kill. Deer were overpopulated, and Mother Nature took her toll and stuff. And I think those numbers have been, somewhat in check since then, and it hasn't ever reached that point again. But, we still have a great deer herd in the county, and lots of deer, lots of nice bucks. That helps, for sure it helps. What we notice here at Belgiumtown is there's still a pretty good camp tradition that I remember growing up with, 30, 40 years ago. Still a lot of local deer camps. You got the locals, but then, we get a big influx from Wisconsin, Illinois, Lower Michigan that come up for their camp time. Those folks that we wouldn't see most of the rest of the year, and well, it's September, October. The guys are coming up, or the families are coming up and getting stuff ready, and then before we know it, it's November, and they're here for that week or 10 days for that little respite that they enjoy. And so yeah, I think that tradition is still pretty strong here, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that camp tradition is a big part of it. I know for our camp it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty noticeable, in the restaurants, the bars, the gas stations, pretty much anywhere you go. You hit November 1st and you kind of feel that coming on, and then that week leading up, you get that real buzz. With the influx of people, and just, you look around and everybody's got their blaze orange on and camouflage and stuff like that. So
you're talking about, obviously you have a judge's choice and different bucks, but is anything stand out in your mind in the last few years, like a really cool buck that's come in or a really cool story?
I don't know that any one stands out to me.
Right.
In this small community, you know how it is. Somebody shoots a nicer buck or whatever, and they make the local paper. And now with, smartphones and social media, and I mean, it used to be you'd hear about it and you'd hope you'd get a glimpse at it. And now it's, pictures are all over the place and people are talking about it. So I think there's just usually that 1 or 2 marquee bucks from the area, if you will, that a lot of people know about, whether it's through sightings or trail cam pictures or whatever. And so those few deer kind of get a bit of acclaim in the area while they're on the hoof. And then if somebody is fortunate enough to tag them, oh, did you hear so-and-so got that big buck, that everybody's been talking about. And so yeah, I don't know that any stand out in particular. It's just kind of that anticipation of what's going to come in, I remember, I guess one that kind of stands out to me was a few years ago, we had one real nice buck in the area that there had been some trail cam pictures captured, and where it was being seen on one side of Highway 41 and where it ended up being taken in the first couple days of season was multiple miles away. One of the landowners that I know who has a camp up probably 20 minutes north of Daggett and would normally hunt up there was driving from his camp every day back to his house down in the Wallace area to hunt this deer. It was that exceptional, you know, and many people had seen it or knew of it and stuff like that. But it had traveled as deer do, very typically. I would not say several miles, but a few miles, and it was taken in a different area where it was being seen. So that one kind of stands out to me a little bit. And sadly enough, it didn't make it to our event. It was one of the best bucks shot in the county that I knew of. We'd seen several pictures of it, and it never did make it to our event. So that was kind of a disappointment more than anything, I think, because you hear about these deer that are being taken, and us as organizers, we hear about them as well, and it's kind of like, oh, I hope
they're coming.
Yep, hope Joe brings his big buck down, you know, and then when they typically do show up, which most of them do, it's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And those are, as I said before, the showstoppers, if you will. You know, we got a big lineup of deer out here, and people got their flashlights out, and the kids are tagging along, and they're walking up and down the rows looking for these deer, but you can pretty much tell where the really good bucks are, because
there's a crowd.
Yeah, there's
always a crowd.
Big crowds congregated around these pickup beds, and it's kind of fun. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Today's Discover the UP podcast is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings.
Cooking Wild Seasonings. Flavor and meat. Just mix, heat, and eat. That simple? You bet. Now even easier with our new grab-and-go 4-pack cartons. 4 combinations to choose from. Whitetail Hunter, Deer Camp, Summer Sausage, and Fresh Sausage. Make it fresh, make it yours. Make it easy. Grab a 4-pack today. Available at various locations, including all Chris Northwood's neighborhood store locations. Find out more about Cooking Wild Seasonings at cookingwildseasonings.com.
What made you want to join and help out with Belgiumtown?
Yeah, so I love coming up to Belgiumtown. Always have enjoyed coming up here. Obviously, the room we're sitting in is kind of a cool thing in the fall. At the time, I was working for one of our sponsors and said, hey, how can I help? And he's like, well, you can come register deer, my boss at the time, which is Jesse. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, that sounds like fun. And it was cold, and I didn't really know what to expect, so I was probably a little bit underdressed with jeans and a vest on and thought, all right, I got this. Yeah, no. I had a headlamp to write on a notebook of deer, and I'm like, we're not going to do it this way. So I kind of asked Dan, I'm like, hey, I want to come help, I want to be more involved with it. And I just saw a really great opportunity to become a volunteer for the event and kind of help them expand it. Mm-hmm. And the rest is kind of history. It's kind of taken over as one of the volunteer event organizers, and headed up with a couple other people, brought some other gals on that helped too. Lisa Berlinski now. She does all of our photography for us, and so we tag team a lot of the things that the guys maybe don't want to do, as far as organizing and keeping things going. Brought the apparel on and just fell in love with the event, really. I mean, growing up, I once heard a quote that said, you don't remember your best day playing video games, but you remember your best day outdoors. And so grew up going to camp with my dad and grandpa and our family, and just enjoy being outside. And I don't hunt like I should, just with lack of time and opportunities with work and things right now. But definitely just enjoy the sport. I like to bow hunt when I can. So yeah, I just kind of something near and dear to my heart, and want to continue to see it grow. I love seeing women get out in the outdoors, whether you're hunting, you're fishing, you are shooting target archery. That's what I do as a hobby. So it's just a cool event, and I love being in the community and sharing my passion. So it's fun.
That's awesome.
Not to let Lindsay undersell herself here. She and Lisa that she mentioned along with some other volunteers, but those two in particular have really interjected a lot of energy into the event too, where it was just a few of us guys, and you know, speaking for myself, I'm not very tech savvy. You know, we kind of had our duties, if you will, and she's really jumped in both feet here and just offered a lot of energy, some new ideas, just offered to do a lot of things that, as she said, we either didn't want to do or quite simply aren't capable of doing, you know. So it's been a big help. As the event grew, from what it started at, we had kind of our little small crew of 3 or 4 or 5 guys, and it's just gotten to the point now where we can't handle
Right.
doing everything that needs to be done. So it's been refreshing to have some younger people jump in and kind of grab the bull by the horns, if you will, and
Yeah.
really help the event grow and stuff.
I would say by the time the event's all said and done every year, we're looking at about 25 volunteers
Yeah.
that help in some aspect, whether it's keeping prizes running smoothly, it's keeping the 50-50 running smoothly, the apparel team that's out in the event selling,
Outdoor food vending.
yeah,
whole
the
deal,
vendors, we have,
The
you know,
registration,
photography
weigh-in,
team.
yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's all hands on deck. It's all volunteers. It's all people who share our passion for the sport, and so much of it is volunteers. It's amazing that people do want to help, and so I think we're grateful for that.
Yeah, I still remember the comment that Scott Toney made. He's one of our original organizers, and kind of half jokingly he said, Dan, he said, I'm not sure, he said, but we may have created a monster here. You know, and last year I think was testament to that, you know.
Yeah, big time.
And-
the last 2 years.
You know, and I don't see this event regressing unless it was some exceptionally poor weather. It doesn't seem to matter if it's on a Saturday night. I don't expect any less of a crowd this year, and it's going to be on a Monday night, which would typically be kind of a lay low kind of an evening, but this thing has just really picked up a big head of steam here and taken off. So
Why that 4 days after? Why the 18th?
well, I'll take that one, I guess. So a handful of years back, well, probably 5 or 6 years back now, after the first couple of years, we were trying to, it seems like with any successful event, you want to establish your location, establish a consistent date, you know, get that main framework down. And to be honest, you know, I think that may have been maybe just as you came on board, Lynn, or
Yep.
maybe shortly before, but you know, Jesse and Scott and I were discussing that, you know, when should we have this? Should we try and keep it as a weekend event? But of course, as the Michigan hunting season falls, you never know what, you know, how that's going to work out. Is it going to open on a Monday? Is it going to be a weekend? So what we looked at was to have the event in a reasonable amount of time after the opener, before deer started going into the processors or leaving the area completely. You know, we've had some winners from downstate Michigan. You know, they're up here for their 3 or 4 days or a week, and once they're gone, they're gone. So basically what I did was, my research was picked up the Menominee County Journal, which has been a staple in the area for decades upon decades. It's a big deal to go down to the Journal office and get your picture taken with your buck. You know, if you're that lucky guy or gal that gets that big buck, you get on the front page of the Journal, you know.
Yep.
And so, you know, I had always loved looking through those, and so I had a stack of several of them saved from multiple years, and I leaf through it, and as a lot of hunters know, you know, most of the bigger bucks, if you will, are harvested in that first 3 or 4 days, and I think the one paper I looked through, there were 45 or 47 bucks in that issue, and every one of them, with the exception of 2, were harvested within those first 4 days. So we just said, you know, 4 days will be long enough to give the hunters some time to harvest a deer, and not too long, you know, where, you know, they might not have their deer, they want to take it off the buck pole, or they're going to pack up and leave. So So we just kind of settled on that fourth
It was
day
a
of
good happy
season.
medium.
And yeah, it seems to have been kind of, we found a sweet spot there. It was either going to be the third night, the fourth night, the fifth night, and so we chose the middle one, and it seems to have worked out pretty good. So now we've got that date established as our kind of our day or whatever, whether it's Monday, Friday, Saturday, whatever, and we don't need to look ahead on the calendar and say, well, what's going to be good. Now it's just
Right.
Big Buck Night is on the 18th. If you can make it, great. You know, we hope to see you here, and it seems like it's worked out pretty well, right?
It has, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's the notoriety too. November 18th, everybody knows you're going to be at Belgiumtown, looking at the deer, and people plan their camp events around it too. Gives hunters as a group something to look forward to, whether it's a camp meal that they're going to plan. You know, I know we have some traditions at our camp that we've now kind of adjusted a little bit, that hey, if it's Big Buck Night, our hunters want to come out here and hang out, so if at all possible. So it works out well just to have that as a good established date, and it definitely helps. Yeah,
Anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
We're
excited for this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good year.
It's,
We want everyone to come out.
fall is in the air right now, as
Yeah.
Lindsay said earlier, and
Yep.
you know, she's usually the one that gets the ball rolling. Hey, you know, we're wrapped up in our summer stuff, and
Yeah,
she's like, you know, we got to start talking about this thing. It's 3 months away. So we had a meeting here
yeah.
earlier this month, kind of kick things off, and so we're just prepping, you know, reconnecting with sponsors.
A couple new things that we're going to work on. Not sure yet how they'll all work out, but I think it's going to be cool. I think we're going to have some really neat things going on this year.
Yeah. On a personal note, I anticipate seeing some really good bucks this year. We had some kind of funny weather last year around the opener, unseasonably warm temperatures. There were some nice bucks taken, but you know, whether the deer weren't moving as well, or you know, hunters weren't out, or you know, I think the hunters are still always out there, but with that odd weather, I think, you know, after that initial influx of hunting pressure in those first few days, the older, more mature deer get wise. They tend to go underground a little bit, and I think there wasn't probably as great of a harvest of the more mature deer last year. And it seems like once they get that first weekend, and I think the way season kind of fell on the calendar last year too, so those few days
that
passed.
short season.
It was a shorter season. People may have packed up, the out-of-towners and left, and maybe a lot of hunters hunt, say, Wisconsin, you know, so it seemed like the deer maybe a little bit of a reprieve, although we had the most deer we ever that we registered. I think I'm excited. I think some of those big bucks, those 3, 4, and 5.5-year-old bucks may have slipped through, and I think this year we're going to see a few really exceptional deer for the area, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
So time will tell.
Today's Discover the UP podcast is brought to you by Copper Shores Community Health Foundation. One of the biggest opportunities that we have in Michigan's Copper Country is the Copper Shores Community Health Foundation. They are 100% focused on improving the health of our community with hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants and scholarships each year, as well as incredible programming like Meals on Wheels and a victim support team that helps victims of any crimes, and a team focused on improving the mental health of our residents. These are really invaluable resources for our area. I've assisted Copper Shores with local photography and videos and have seen firsthand the impact that they make. If you want to see the amazing work they do and maybe even support it by becoming a donor, visit coppershores.org. So thank you to Copper Shores for your support of this podcast.
There's a lot of times we don't get to go out and see the deer or get to have the camaraderie with people because we are busy. We're getting registering done and spectator prizes and making things are making sure things are running smoothly. It's tough. So we want to take a little time this year too to take a breather and have some time to go out and visit with everybody because we don't get to do that.
No.
And that's hard.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Lindsay. I know the first couple of years, it was more, even for us organizers, it was more of a a social event. You know, the guys were rolling in with a few deer.
Yeah.
We're walking around, talking, socializing, and now you're just parking cars or you're just registering your deer. And like I personally, I had a hard time just getting to walk around and look at all the deer myself, and we originated the event,
Yeah.
and it's tough, and you can't even really afford to stop for 5 minutes. Like, I'd love to talk to
Yeah.
a lot of the people here and just, hey, I was hunting going, and it's more like, sorry, I got to go. I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah.
Good luck. Hope you guys are doing well and stuff. And
Yeah. We tell people to come find us because come stop at the registration booth. I want to see everybody, but we can't always make it out. So that's, I think, our biggest thing too. We want to tell people is we want to see everyone. We want you to come interact with us, and we want to hear your stories. So please definitely come talk to us. And we want to take that time this year, I think, as a group of organizers to thank all of our event attendees for coming. I mean, that's huge for us. It's a big thing. So we want to make sure that they feel appreciated just for coming. I know my parents had came last year, and I saw my dad for about 2 minutes. I'm like, hi, good to see you. Thanks for coming. I'll see you later. And he's like, yeah, good to see you too. So I want to make sure we get to spend more time with everybody and take time in here and enjoy the camaraderie more.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's definitely what it all boils down to. Is what makes the event is not just the contestants or registrants, if you will, which adds a little bit of the fun to it, but it's just the general attendees, the spectators that come, and it's just become a really big social event, and that's the part I enjoy the most about it.
Yep.
I'm a pretty selective hunter. I don't harvest many deer, but like we have a night like this up here, and it's so much fun. I see my friends or family having success, and to me that's just as good, if not better. So that's what we look forward to.
I think especially small town, you need those big social events to bring people
Big time.
together, something for people to look forward to. Like we just brought back, or not me, but a group just brought back the Wild Game Feed. That was like an annual event for quite a few years, and it's been since probably 2019, pre-COVID, and so between COVID and then the bar that it was at shut down, and they're like, where are we going to have it? And finally it got brought back again, and so it's something everyone was super excited about.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
That's the things that people look forward to.
The tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of events, and we're blessed to live in the UP because it's those small little events like your county fairs, your big buck nights, your pancake breakfast that the Legion or the Lions Club hosts every year. People come out to those because we want to see people. Midwesterners are friendly, outgoing people that they want to be around each other and they want to have that camaraderie. So I think it's important to keep those types of events going.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
One more time, what's the date, what's the time?
So I got to think for a minute here. I guess this year it'll be Monday, November 18th.
Yep.
Same location, Belgiumtown here.
Yeah.
We haven't posted a time yet, but we suspect we may start a little bit earlier, tentatively 4 p.m.
Yep.
But we'll have a lot of advertising out.
Flyers, Facebook, website.
So keep an eye out for those kind of things, and we'll solidify that here going forward in the next month or so, and nail down the times. But that fourth night, Monday the 18th, and just looking forward to seeing everybody back out here again.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.